All right, well, good afternoon. We're on the home stretch here and have some great speakers coming up. So it is my distinct pleasure to welcome our next speaker, the Honorable Lloyd J. Austin III, the U.S. Secretary of Defense. As the leader of the Department of Defense, Secretary Austin is in charge of leading over 2 million service members and civilians, and importantly, continues a long career, distinguished career of service to this country. We'd also like to welcome back to the stage the Honorable Robert Work, who is our Vice Chair of our Commission, who will participate in a short fireside chat following the Secretary's remarks. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Secretary Austin.
See if I can get this mic adjusted for normal-sized people. Well, good afternoon, and thank you, General Kumashiro, for that kind introduction and for your important work with this commission. Thanks to all of you for being here, and including those people who are joining us online. And the fact that so many of us can gather safely in person here in Washington is a testament to what science and leadership can do. You know, it says a lot about this commission that you've pulled together such an impressive lineup of speakers for this summit. You've also brought together your impressive commissioners, including Eric Schmidt, Safra Katz, Gilman Louie, Chris Darby, and Katarina McFarland. It truly is great to see so many friends here, including Bob Work, who's made such tremendous contributions as a commissioner and a distinguished leader of the department. As this commission has argued, cooperation is key to ensuring that the forces of technology support the forces of democracy. And I couldn't agree more, and I'm very grateful for all that you do. Now, I'd like to talk today about some big changes that we're bringing to the Department of Defense with respect to artificial intelligence. And they represent some big changes to some old ways of thinking. This commission calls AI the most powerful tool in generations for benefiting humanity. It's a capability that this department urgently needs to develop even further. AI is central to our innovation agenda, helping us to compute faster and share better and leverage other platforms. And that's fundamental to the fights of the future. And so we are all now present at the creation, all part of a new age of technology. As President Biden has said, we are determined to work with our like-minded partners to shape the rules and norms that will govern those sweeping advances. And that means standing up for democratic values, even and especially in times of great change. And it means ensuring that technologies like AI are, as the President has put it, used to lift people up and not used to pin them down. And so we are renewing our efforts to posture ourselves for what I would call the future fight. Now, obviously, if it comes down to fighting, we will do so. And we will win decisively. But our first goal should be to prevent conflict and to deter adversaries. And that demands of us a new vision for deterrence in this century. We call this vision integrated deterrence. And I'll have more to say about this in the weeks to come. But basically, integrated deterrence is about using the right mix of technology and operational concepts and capabilities, all woven together in a networked way that is so credible and flexible and formidable that it will give any adversary pause. Integrated deterrence means working closely with our friends and partners, just as this commission has urged. It means using some of our current capabilities differently. It means developing new operational concepts for things that we already do. And it means investing in cutting-edge capabilities for the future in all domains of potential conflict. America's integrated deterrence relies on both innovation and investment. And we understand that those are interwoven. Innovation requires the resources to develop new ideas and scale them appropriately. And investment pays off when it's focused on the challenges of tomorrow and not yesterday. Tech advantages like AI are changing the face and the pace of warfare. But we believe that we can responsibly use AI as a force multiplier, one that helps us to make decisions faster and more rigorously, and to integrate across all domains, and to replace old ways of doing business. AI and related technologies will give us both an information and an operational edge. And that means a strategic advantage. But we know that truly successful adoption of AI isn't just like, say, procuring a better tank. You know, a closer analogy might be the department's use of computers. And that began with a few critical applications, and over the decades became embedded in nearly every military system that we have. In a future that increasingly feels as if it's already here, AI holds the promise of superior performance across a wide range of platforms and systems. Over just the past decade, progress in AI research, especially in machine learning, has vastly expanded. And we see AI as a transformative technology, one that will require new processes, new policies, and new procedures across the department. And used right, AI capabilities can play a critical role in all four areas of the joint warfighting concept that I approved this spring, including joint fires, joint all-domain command and control, contested logistics, and information advantage. Today, across the department, we have more than 600 AI efforts in progress, significantly more than just a year ago. And that includes the Artificial Intelligence and Data Acceleration Initiative, which brings AI to bear on operational data. It includes Project Salus, a predictive tool for finding patterns in COVID-19 data that the department built from scratch with some top Silicon Valley companies starting last March. And it includes the Pathfinder project, which is an algorithm-driven system that helps us better detect airborne threats by using AI to fuse data from military, commercial, and government sensors in real time. And of course, the department, and especially DARPA, have a long history of AI research. You know, in the 1960s, DARPA research shaped the so-called first wave of AI. And today, through its multi-year investment of more than $2 billion, DARPA's AI Next campaign is paving the way for the future third wave. I recently visited the professionals up at DARPA, and I was so impressed to learn about their more than 60 programs that are applying AI, including using it to detect and patch cyber vulnerabilities. And we're just getting started. And DARPA is just one of the many research, test, and evaluation organizations across the department. As this commission has recommended, we elevated the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center so that it reports directly to the Deputy Secretary, ensuring that we have the focus from senior leaders needed to drive AI transformation. And over the next 5 years, the department will invest nearly $1.5 billion in the center's efforts to accelerate our adoption of AI. Done responsibly, leadership in AI can boost our future military tech advantage, from data-driven decisions to human-to-machine teaming. And that could make the Pentagon of the near future dramatically more effective, more agile, and more ready. But obviously, we aren't the only ones who understand the promise of AI. China's leaders have made clear that they intend to be globally dominant in AI by the year 2030. And Beijing already talks about using AI for a range of missions, from surveillance to cyber attacks to autonomous weapons. And in the AI realm, as in many others, we understand that China is our pacing challenge. And we're going to compete to win, but we're going to do it the right way. We're not going to cut corners on safety, security, or ethics. And our watchwords are responsibility and results. And we don't believe for a minute that we have to sacrifice one for the other. We're going to rely on the long-standing advantages of our open system and our civil society and our democratic values. That's our roadmap to success, and I wouldn't trade it for anyone else's. You know, American power has long been rooted in American innovation. And that's even truer today. Our powerhouse universities and our nimble small businesses are brimming with good ideas. And we're working as their partners through initiatives like our recently launched Institute for Nascent Innovation Consortium, which bring together small companies in a problem-solving network to tackle some of the government's hardest tech challenges. But ultimately, AI systems only work when they are based in trust. And we have a principled approach to AI that anchors everything that this department does. We call this responsible AI, and it's the only kind of AI that we do. Responsible AI is the place where cutting-edge tech meets timeless values. And again, you see, we don't believe that we need to choose between them, and we don't believe that doing so would work. This commission speaks of establishing justified confidence in AI systems. And we want that confidence to go beyond just ensuring that AI systems function, but also ensuring that AI systems support our founding principles. So our use of AI must reinforce our democratic values, protect our rights, ensure our safety, and defend our privacy. Of course, we clearly understand the pressures and the tensions. And we know that evaluations of the legal and ethical implications of novel tech can take time. AI is going to change many things about military operations, but nothing is going to change America's commitments to the laws of war and the principles of our democracy. So we've established core principles for responsible AI. Our development, deployment, and use of AI must always be responsible, equitable, traceable, reliable, and governable. And we're going to use AI for clearly defined purposes. And we're not going to put up with unintended bias from AI. We're going to watch out for unintended consequences. And we're going to immediately adjust, improve, or even disable AI systems that aren't behaving the way that we intend. And to underscore this culture of responsibility, in May, the department reaffirmed its commitment to our AI ethics principles. And that includes training a workforce ready for responsible AI and establishing structures for oversight and cultivating a robust ecosystem for responsible AI. And I should note the outstanding efforts of our Deputy Secretary, Kath Hicks, in this crucial effort. An amazing job by a very, very talented professional. Now, our wider vision of integrated deterrence relies on our unmatched network of allies and partners worldwide. And so does our approach to responsible AI. We're working together with other like-minded friends to advance global norms grounded in our shared values. And so the department and 15 of our allied and partnered countries are meeting several times a year in the AI Partnership for Defense. As we've accelerated our integration of AI, we have, of course, relied heavily on expert advice, including recommendations from this commission. You've pushed us to increase our investments in AI development and fielding, and in June, we announced the creation of the Rapid Defense Experimentation Reserve, which helps us get promising tech across the so-called Valley of Death and into new prototypes, capabilities, and concepts. And you've urged us to build the technical backbone to support AI systems throughout their life cycle. And we've just launched the department's new AI and Data Acceleration Initiative, which will help us harness data at scale and speed, and it will speed up the gains from leveraging AI. Your report also recommends that the department's budget focus more on science and technology. And you know what? You're exactly right. And that's why this year's budget asks for $112 billion for research, development, testing, and evaluation. It is the department's largest R&D request ever. And in that request, AI is one of the department's top tech modernization priorities. And we're not just investing in individual AI applications either. We're investing in the infrastructure and the reforms to make our efforts more effective. And our final and most important investment is in our people. We're going to have to do a lot better at recruiting, training, and retaining talented people, which are often young people, but people who can lead the department into and through the AI revolution. And that means creating new career paths and new incentives. And it means including tech skills as a part of basic training programs. And it means a significant shift in the way that this institution thinks about tech. You know, some of our troops leave homes that are decked out in state-of-the-art personal tech. And then they spend their workday on virtually obsolete laptops. You're familiar with this story. And we still see college graduates and newly minted PhDs who would never think about a career in the department. So we have to do better. We have to do better. Emerging technologies must be central to our strategic development. We need to tackle our culture of risk aversion. We need to smarten up our sluggish pace of acquisition. And we need to more vigorously recruit talented people and not scare them away. And in today's world, in today's department, innovation cannot be an afterthought. It is the ball game. And again, as President Biden has noted, we're going to see more technological change in the next 10 years than we saw in the last 50. And we know that some of our competitors think that they see an opening. But we're determined, as the President says, to develop and dominate the products and technologies of the future. That's central to our agenda. And that mission is far easier because of two of America's greatest assets: the creativity of an open society and the ingenuity of an open mind. We're going to need the help of our friends in all of this, and believe me, we're going to continue to lean on you. But we are going to get this done, and we're going to get it done right, and we're going to get it done together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Austin, first for taking time out of your schedule and coming over this afternoon. I think you know Secretary Mark Esper attended our first inaugural kickoff, so having you to bookend the end of our work has been a special treat for us. And thanks for the motivating words. They're music to the ears of all of our commissioners, and I'm sure to the whole audience here. I think you laid out that the department really is building up momentum on the adoption of AI. So you mentioned some of them, the publication of Responsible AI Principles, the Chief Data Officer and his data decrees, the Data and AI Accelerator, awful lot of stuff going on. And it looks like you finally solved JEDI. Man, I never thought it would end. But now that you've been here for 6 months, what do you see as the next wave of accelerated work to really get AI-enabled applications adopted at scale across the department?
Yeah, so am I still on here, Bob?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So three things that I would point to, Bob. We're pushing experimentation. And you mentioned the AI accelerator. That's a key mechanism that we'll use to get products and capabilities to our combatant commanders as quickly as we possibly can. The second thing that I would say that we're doing is we're establishing protocols for responsible AI, and you heard me talk about that earlier. And I think we can ill afford to move so fast that we forget about our responsibilities in terms of behaving in an ethical fashion. And then the third thing is I would say we're going to build good governance processes along the way. I think, and we've already departed on this path here. It's all about governance in my mind, establishing the right mechanisms to provide the right oversight to ensure that you have discipline in the system, I think is awfully important. So I think those three muscle movements will keep us in the right place there. So.
Sounds great, sir. The FY22 budget submission as you noted, provides the biggest increase in R&D spending in recent years. It's the biggest R&D budget in DoD's history. That is very good news. How are you going to ensure that the department prioritizes AI and the other emerging technologies that are going to give the future joint force an advantage within this increase?
Well, as you would imagine, Bob, I'm really proud of the fact that we're investing $112 billion in R&D. I mean, that's as I pointed out earlier, that's the largest investment in R&D that the department's seen ever. And 25% of that is focused on emerging technologies. And I think it's that kind of investment that really will ensure that we maintain and increase our competitive edge as we look towards our peer competitors, the Chinas, the Russias of the world. I would also point out, though, that, I mean, this is a 50% increase from what we saw in 2019. So it's pretty substantial in terms of what we're investing in emerging technologies. But when you consider emerging technologies, as you pointed out, it's not just about AI, it's also about hypersonics, it's about biotechnology, it's about microelectronics. So a number of things that I think we'll have to continue to invest in along the way. But I'm pretty excited about if we get the budget through, pretty excited about the capabilities that we're gonna curate going forward.
Sir, we have time probably for one short comment. Today's theme is really working with our partners. And you mentioned that one of the things that you wanted to do as secretary was really work with the partners on AI. Do you have any ideas right now how the department is going to go about that?
You heard me mention earlier, I think, in my remarks on what we're doing in terms of our AI partnership. We've partnered with 15 other nations on AI and responsible AI, and so I think that's a good start. I think that number will mushroom going forward, and I think it's all about sharing ideas and best practices, and it's all about making sure that we establish norms and encourage others to follow those norms along the way. But as you are, I'm a big believer in our alliances and our partnerships. I think it magnifies our capacity and our capabilities. So you'll see us continue to refurbish and strengthen those alliances going forward, and AI will be a pretty significant part of that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Secretary. I think the department and the nation is very lucky to have you at the helm right now with everything going on from Haiti to China, sprinkle in a little Cuba. Just your inbox doesn't ever seem to go down. So the fact that you could take time out of trying to work your inbox down and visit with us this afternoon, we really appreciate it and wish you the best of luck.
Well, thanks for having me here, and I note that you had the rest of the national security team here today as well, with Jake Sullivan and now Tony Blinken, I think, is coming up. So we spend a lot of time together just based upon the things that you pointed out in terms of the issues that we have on our plate. But I would say that it's a great team to be a part of. And one final comment, it's a good thing that I can't really see who's in the audience, but I just noticed that Sally Donnelly is sitting right in front of me there, and I'm surprised that I didn't get heckled, during my presentation. But Sally, it's good to see you, and thanks to all of you for what you continue to do to support a very worthy cause and something that I think we really have to sprint on. So thanks a lot, and thanks for allowing me to be here today.
Please join me in.